The story begins with a chilling winter scene. Footprints in the snow lead to a dark realization. A voice whispers a desperate vow. Never again. I don't want to repeat it. This is the weight of a past that refuses to stay buried. In the silent graveyard covered in fresh snow, the regret is palpable. It's my fault. I've lost everything. A confession of a boy who believed his actions would save his family, only to watch them fall apart. Ao Minato, a fragile-looking teenager with haunted eyes, stares into the void. His face is splattered with blood, a grim testament to the crime he just committed. To him, the thought of tomorrow is a nightmare he'd rather not face. A body lies motionless in the snow. Ao stands over it, a bloody knife trembling in his hand. He believed this was the only way to find happiness, but the blood on the snow tells a different story. This is the moment that changed everything. But then the scene shifts. Ao wakes up, yawning, in a warm, familiar kitchen. The smell of frying eggs fills the air. A cheerful voice calls out to him, breaking the silence of his nightmare. Was it all just a dream? His older sister, Akane Minato, is there, smiling as she cooks breakfast. She is the glue holding this fragile family together, hiding her own exhaustion behind a gentle face. She asks if their younger sister, Anna, is awake yet. The house is full of life. Anna Minato, a quiet and innocent young girl, sits at the table. Akane scolds Ao for being noisy, but the bickering feels normal, almost peaceful. Breakfast is served, and for a moment, they're just a regular family. Ao notices the TV news as he chats with Akane. Their mother is still asleep, unwell as usual. The atmosphere is light, but a shadow of something dark lingers in the corner of Ao's mind, a feeling that this peace is built on thin ice. The news reports on a horrific case, a 17-year-old boy who committed multiple mass murders. Ao watches the screen, his expression unreadable. The motives behind the killings remain a mystery, a dark parallel to the thoughts swirling in his own head. Ao thinks to himself, comparing his life to the murderer on TV. Just as Akane playfully punishes him for his teasing, the door opens. A heavy presence enters the room, and the air suddenly turns cold. The family's brief moment of joy vanishes instantly. Their mother enters, looking pale and sickly, followed by a dark silhouette. Everyone greets her, but the tension in the room is suffocating. The fragile domestic peace they were enjoying is about to be shattered by the person walking in behind her. It's Cha Duong, Kyuzukabe, their stepfather. He walks in with a loud, boisterous greeting that feels more like a threat than a morning wish. His smiling face is a mask for the cruelty that the children know all too well. The children's reactions say it all. Akane, Anna, and Ao freeze, their eyes filled with fear. Kyuzukabe stands over them, his presence dominating the kitchen. He comments on the breakfast, but his gaze lingers on Anna in a way that makes Ao's skin crawl. The atmosphere is now thick with dread. Kyuzukabe demands coffee, acting like the master of the house. Akane and Ao keep their heads down, their expressions shadowed. They are prisoners in their own home, waiting for the inevitable storm. Ao tries to hide his shaking hands. He asks when Kyuzukabe came back, his voice small and nervous. The man just gives him a smug, self-satisfied look. To him, this isn't a family. It's a playground for his whims. Suddenly, the mask slips. Kyuzukabe begins to shout, his rage exploding over nothing. He demands to know why they don't appreciate him, his voice booming through the small apartment. The physical violence isn't far behind the verbal abuse. He grabs Ao, his grip brutal. Anna is already in tears in the background, witnessing the routine violence. Kyuzukabe claims ownership over everything, the house, their lives. He believes his financial power gives him the right to be a monster. The abuse is relentless. Kyuzukabe is a man the world trusts, a successful stockbroker, but behind closed doors, he is a nightmare. He reminds them that he is the one feeding them, using his money as a weapon to silence their pain. Looking back, it wasn't always like this. Their mother was a single parent, struggling until she met Kusakabe. He was kind then, a savior who turned out to be a predator. Once he moved in, he bared his fangs, knowing they had nowhere else to go. Ao's face is bruised, his spirit nearly broken. For a while, things were peaceful when Kusakabe was away, indulging himself with other women. But his return means the end of that fragile tranquility. In this house, he is an invincible tyrant. Kusakabe throws things across the room, uncaring of the damage. Akane begs him to stop, her voice full of desperation. She is trying to protect her younger siblings, but even her strength has its limits against such raw, unbridled malice. A phone rings, breaking the sound of the struggle. Even as he looms over them, Kusakabe's face changes when he answers. He becomes the polite, respectable man the world sees, a chilling contrast to the monster standing in his living room. On the phone, he is all smiles and gratitude. Behind him, Ao stands bruised and battered, clutching his stomach. The hypocrisy is sickening. The world sees a success story. Ao and his sisters see a death sentence. As Kusakabe walks away, still laughing into the phone, the family is left to suffer in silence amidst the wreckage. Akane insists that Ao take Anna and head to school, her voice trembling but determined to shield them. She will stay behind to face the monster alone, sacrificing her own peace for their temporary safety. Ao leads a sobbing Anna out of the house, his head bowed under the crushing weight of his own perceived cowardice. Every step away from the front door feels like a betrayal, leaving him feeling utterly pathetic and powerless. As the school day looms ahead, he has no idea that the ticking clock of this day is leading him toward a point of no return. The sun begins to set over the school building, casting long shadows on the students heading home. For most, it's just the end of another day. But for Ao Minato, the weight of his reality is becoming unbearable. Amidst the sea of backpacks and chatter, he feels isolated, a boy carrying a burden far beyond his years. As he walks away, he sees Akane Minato waiting for him. She waves with a gentle smile that masks the bruises beneath her clothes. Watching her, Ao's resolve hardens. He whispers to himself, "I want to be stronger, and I will for everyone." He's tired of being the one who is protected. He wants to be the shield his sisters deserve. Meeting up on the street, Ao immediately notices the bandages on Akane's hand. His heart sinks. He knows exactly who caused it. Akane tries to downplay it, mentioning their stepfather drove off, likely to spend time with other women. She suggests they walk home together, but her eyes betray a heavy secret she needs to share. The news she breaks leaves Ao stunned. "You're going to get a job? Quitting high school?" He can't believe what he's hearing. Akane, who worked so hard for her education, is ready to throw it all away just to provide for them. The shock is written all over Ao's face as he realizes the magnitude of her sacrifice. Akane stands firm, her gaze fixed on the ground as she explains she can't deal with the situation anymore. She promises to take care of everyone and urges Ao to focus on getting away. Ao's heart aches. He sees himself as the man of the house, the one who should be protecting them, not the other way around. Yet, here he is, feeling smaller than ever. Akane looks at him with a tender, sad smile, telling him that just being with him, Anna, and their mom is enough to make her happy. She wants him to know he's already doing his best. But for Ao, those words aren't a comfort. They're a reminder of his own perceived helplessness. For a brief moment, Akane laughs, acting refreshed and claiming she's hungry. It's a fragile act of normalcy. Ao smiles back, but internally, he's making a vow. He refuses to rely on his sister's sacrifice. He swears he'll find another way, any way, to save them from this nightmare. But his thoughts are interrupted by a sudden, chilling sight. As they reach the house, they see Kusakabe's car in the garage. Panic immediately sets in. Akane shouts in terror, "Oh my God, Anna!" They race inside, the fear for their youngest sister overriding everything else. The dread that had been building all day finally reaches its breaking point. They burst through the door to find their mother lying motionless on the floor. Akane doesn't stop. Her priority is Anna, but Ao is frozen for a split second, looking at his mother and then toward the back of the house. "Dad, why?" he whispers, his mind racing to the worst possible conclusions. Akane desperately bangs on a locked door, screaming for their stepfather to stop and leave Anna alone. She begs for the key, her voice cracking with desperation. She's willing to do anything to stop what's happening on the other side of that door, her pride and safety secondary to her sister's innocence. In her desperation, Akane reveals a horrific truth that leaves Ao reeling. She screams, "You promised you wouldn't if I let you do it, as much as you wanted." The realization hits Ao like a physical blow. His sister had been enduring the stepfather's abuse in secret, making a deal with the devil just to spare Anna. The world seems to tilt on its axis as the depth of his sister's suffering is laid bare. Ao pushes past Akane and enters the room. The sight is beyond words. Kusakabe is there, half-naked and looming over a terrified Anna. Akane is on the floor, looking up with eyes filled with tears and shame. This is the hell they've been living in while Ao was blind to it all. Kusakabe doesn't even show remorse. Instead, he lashes out, slapping Akane and calling her a piece of shit for interrupting. Ao watches, his shock turning into something cold and sharp. He realizes that for all his talk of protecting them, his sisters have been suffering at the hands of this monster right under his nose. Something inside Ao finally snaps. Ao's vision blurs, his pupils dilating in a state of extreme trauma. Was I the only one who didn't know? He thinks. The voices of panic in his head converge into a single, overwhelming drive. I have to do something. I have to. The world goes dark as he reaches for the only solution he can find. The next moment is a blur of violence. A massive splatter of blood hits the wall, soaking into a child's teddy bear. Kusakabe lies dead on the floor. His reign of terror ended in a brutal, bloody instant. The silence that follows is more deafening than the screams that preceded it. Ao stands there, covered from head to toe in blood, holding the weapon. Akane and Anna stare at him, their expressions a mix of horror and shock. He looks down at his hands, unable to process the gravity of what he's just done. He only knows that the monster is gone. "Ao, what have you done?" Akane's scream echoes through the house. "Ao!" It's a cry of pure anguish. Ao stands in the center of the carnage, staring at nothing as the weight of his crime begins to settle. He did it. He ended it. But the cost is already becoming apparent in his sister's terrified eyes. The immediate aftermath is a whirlwind of flashing lights and cold steel. Ao's hands are snapped into handcuffs. The TV news broadcasts the story. A 15-year-old boy arrested for the murder of his stepfather. The abuse is brought to light. But for Ao, the world as he knew it is over. Ao is sent to a juvenile institution. Despite the bars and the cold walls, he feels a strange sense of peace. He believes his sacrifice was worth it. Because of the circumstances of the abuse, his sentence is relatively lenient. He sits in his cell and whispers, "I am satisfied." He thinks he's finally won their freedom. Behind those bars, a small smile touches Ao's lips. He truly believes he has protected everyone. In his mind, his family is finally safe, able to start over without the shadow of Kusakabe looming over them. He's willing to lose his own freedom if it means they can finally be happy. Months pass. One night, under the light of a full moon shining through his cell window, Ao is told he has a visitor. He expects to see a smiling Akane and Anna, ready to tell him how much better life has become. He walks to the visiting room with hope in his heart. But the person waiting for him isn't smiling. Akane sits on the other side of the glass, her head bowed, looking like a ghost of her former self. When Ao asks what's wrong, she can barely speak. Her hands are clenched, her spirit clearly shattered. Anna is... She begins, but the words won't come. The news she brings is a second, even more devastating blow. Anna is dead. She committed suicide. The image of his little sister's body haunts the space between them. Ao's eyes bulge in disbelief and horror. "You're lying to me, aren't you?" he screams, his world crumbling for the second time. "Why? Why?" Akane presses a notebook against the glass. Anna's final words. "To anyone reading, I can't live anymore." Saw the trauma of the past and the stigma of the murder were a weight too heavy for her young soul. Ao's sacrifice, the blood on his hands, it was all for nothing. Instead of saving her, he had inadvertently pushed her into the abyss. The reality of his failure hits Ao with the force of a physical blow. He collapses to the floor, his mind rejecting the impossible truth. "It's a lie," he cries out, his voice cracking. Every dream of a happy ending, every reason he had to endure prison, vanishes in an instant, leaving him in a world of pure, unadulterated tragedy. Ao Minato is left shattered behind the visiting room glass. The scream of "No" is trapped in his throat, a silent explosion of grief. He realized too late that his attempt at salvation only brought a different kind of death to his family. The guilt is a physical weight, crushing the life out of him. "It's my fault," he wails, his face contorted in agony. He sees himself as useless, a failure who couldn't protect the very person he killed for. The words, "I'm useless," and "I couldn't protect anyone" echo in his mind like a funeral dirge, marking the end of his hope. A year passes. Time hasn't healed Ao, it has only hollowed him out. Now released from the juvenile institution, he hides under a construction helmet, his eyes devoid of the spark they once held. He's a ghost of the boy who thought he could change his fate. He works at construction sites, a mindless routine to drown out his thoughts. He hasn't returned to his family, choosing instead to live as an outcast. To him, his presence is a curse that only brings trouble, so he stays away, a self-imposed exile in the heart of the city. By night, he waves a light stick to guide traffic, a solitary figure in the neon glow. He tells himself he's forgotten the past, living only in the present, but it's a lie. He's just waiting for the day he can truly disappear, convinced that everyone is better off without him. In the rare moments of rest, he looks at a photo of his family on his phone. Their smiles are a painful contrast to his current reality. It's been a year, he muses. He believes he's doing the right thing by staying away, but his heart still clings to the memory of the happiness he destroyed. One freezing night, as he shivers his way up the stairs to his cramped apartment, he notices a figure waiting in the shadows. His heart skips a beat. Someone is there, standing in the cold, waiting for a boy who doesn't want to be found. It's his mother. She looks frail and desperate, a shadow of the woman she once was. Ao is stunned to see her at his doorstep. But the news she brings is a second strike to his already broken soul. Mom, what's going on?" "Oh, Akane she's went missing." Inside his small, bleak room, his mother reveals the horror Akane Minato has been living through. She tells him Akane had been sinking into a deep depression. In her desperation, the mother secretly checked Akane's phone, uncovering a world of cruelty that Ao never imagined. Ao stares at the screen in disbelief. "My sister was being bullied at school. The messages are vile. Just disappear. Murderer's sister. Don't come to school." The world hadn't forgotten Ao's crime. It had simply redirected its hatred toward the sister who remained. The news articles about her murderer brother were weapons used to tear her life apart. The cruelty didn't stop at school. A letter addressed to Akane's potential employer warned them that hiring someone with criminal blood would put the company in jeopardy. The shadows of Ao's past had reached out to sabotage Akane's last hope for a future, ensuring she remained trapped in the wreckage he left behind. The memory of Akane's job offer being revoked is a knife in Ao's heart. He sees her in his mind, sobbing as the manager tells her they have to cancel. She was the one who was supposed to take care of everyone, but the world wouldn't let her. "It's all my fault," Ao realizes. This time it's you, sis. His crime didn't just kill a monster. It was slowly killing his sister too. His mother's tears are a frantic plea for help. "Please, Ao, let's go find Akane." She's a mother who has already lost one child and can't bear to lose another. Despite his self-imposed exile, Ao can't say no. The mission is clear. Find his sister before it's too late. Ao begins a desperate search through the town where Akane lived. He walks the streets she walked, looking into every corner, every alleyway. Every minute that passes without a sign of her is an eternity of dread. We have been looking for her for a while now. He thinks, the fear growing with every step. He asks everyone, restaurateurs, shopkeepers, anyone who might have seen her. But the answer is always the same. No one knows where she is. His mother is exhausted, her strength failing her. Ao urges her to go home and rest, but he knows he can't stop. He's already lost Anna. He can't lose Akane too. He doesn't want to imagine what will happen if he fails. As night deepens, Ao finds himself alone, staring at the clock. It's 0:05 on December 10th, the anniversary of the day he killed his stepfather. The irony is bitter. Where did you go, sis? Please tell me where you are. Otherwise, He's at his breaking point, his mind spiraling toward a dark, final conclusion. He collapses, his arms shielding his eyes as he lies on the ground. I can't take it anymore. I can't do this anymore. The weight of a year of suffering, of guilt, and of the fear of losing Akane is too much. He's a boy who tried to play God and ended up in hell. In his despair, Ao finds himself walking toward a quiet shrine under the moonlight. God, how much longer will you make us suffer? He asks the silent torii gates. He has nowhere else to go, no one else to ask. He's looking for a miracle in a world that has only shown him cruelty. At the offering box, Ao's prayer is a guttural cry for mercy. Please return my sister safely. I will do anything for just that. I'll dedicate my whole life to you. He's offering up everything he is, everything he has left, for one chance to save Akane. It's a deal he's willing to make, no matter the cost. He prays with a fervor born of absolute desperation. So please, let me see my sister. I don't want to see it. If I have to live like this, then tomorrow. He's ready to give up his life, convinced that his tomorrow is a nightmare he can't survive alone. Little does he know, his prayer is about to be answered in a way he never expected. The full moon hangs low over the shrine, casting an eerie, silver light over the scene. Ao is alone, kneeling in the silence, his plea echoing through the ancient trees. A strange, supernatural stillness settles over the area, as if time itself is holding its breath. Suddenly, Ao is jolted awake. He's not at the shrine. He's in a booth at a family restaurant, a blanket draped over him. A waiter is asking him to wake up. Disoriented, he checks his phone. The date is December 10th. The time is 4:15. The world has reset. He's back on the day it all began. In his hand, he finds a mysterious charm, an omamori that looks old, burnt, and weathered, unlike anything he's ever seen. What is this? Since when did I have something like this? He wonders, his heart racing. Before he can process the mystery, his phone begins to ring. An incoming call from a public phone. He answers, his voice trembling. Hello. On the other end, he hears a voice that shouldn't be there. It's Akane. Oh, I'm sorry. Goodbye. The call cuts off, leaving him frozen. This voice. Nei-chun. The miracle of the reset is immediately overshadowed by the haunting finality in her tone. He realizes that even though the day has restarted, her desperate plan is already in motion. Ao is paralyzed by the sound of a voice he thought was lost forever. That goodbye wasn't just a farewell. It was a warning that the tragedy he witnessed is about to repeat itself. He realizes that he's been thrown back into the middle of a ticking time bomb, and the mystery of where she is and why she's apologizing is the only thing that matters now. He has to act before the cycle of despair completes itself once again. Ao Minato is desperate, pleading with Akane on the phone, but the goodbye is final. She mentions the hospital, and a cold dread washes over him. He rushes to the entrance, his heart hammering against his ribs. What has happened while he was trapped in his own grief? He finds her, not Akane, but his mother. She lies in a hospital bed, her face a mask of bandages. The woman who has already suffered so much has been broken again. Ao can only stare in horror at the physical manifestation of the world's cruelty toward his family. Ao learns the sickening truth. While he was searching for Akane, his mother was targeted. The police are there, but their presence feels meaningless. It was Akane's classmates, the same people who drove his sister to the edge, who turned their violence on the mother of a murderer. The cycle of hatred is complete. God's punishment. The words echo in Ao's mind as he looks at his broken mother. He wonders if this is his true sentence. Not prison, but watching everyone he loves be systematically destroyed because of his actions. His eyes are wide, glassy with the shock of a realization too heavy to bear. The scene shifts to the riverbank under a cold night sky. A group of teenagers sits around, laughing and drinking. Among them is a blonde thug, a figure of arrogance and cruelty. They're the ones who turn the town into a hunting ground for the Minato family. Ao watches them from the shadows, his pain turning into a dark, sharp edge. The thugs notice him, and their laughter only grows. They mock him for his crime, for his self-reflection in the juvenile center. To them, he's not a person. He's just a criminal to be played with. Ao stands there, bruised and shivering, the insults hitting him like physical blows. "Are you guys the ones who hurt my mother?" he asks, his voice barely a whisper. The blonde thug sneers, mocking the memory of Akane Minato. He laughs about how the old hag was looking for her daughter with devious eyes, as if she were the one in the wrong. He enjoys the power he has over them, the way his words can twist the knife in Ao's already bleeding heart. Ao tries to defend his mother, but the thugs won't have it. They throw things at him, calling him a dirty criminal and claiming they are the true human beings. In their twisted logic, their violence is justified because of who Ao is. They feel cheeky in their cruelty, hiding behind a facade of social justice. The beating begins. They kick and punch Ao. Their voice is a cacophony of hatred. "If you gave birth to a murderer, you're also guilty," they scream. Ao is on the ground, curled into a ball, wondering why this is happening. Why him? Why Akane? The world is full of real greedy humans, and right now, they're all he can see. The blonde thug leans in, his face twisted in a mocking grin. He tells Ao that no decent person should ever forgive him. For him, Ao's time in juvenile detention was just a joke. He wants to exterminate demons like Ao, completely unaware that he is the one creating the monster he claims to hate. The cruelty reaches a peak. They strip Ao of his clothes and order him to jump into the freezing river in the middle of winter. It's a game of life and death, and they are enjoying every second of his humiliation. Ao shivers, his body nearing its limit, his spirit almost extinguished. Ao screams for Akane, begging them to tell him where she is. The blonde thug just laughs, saying her suicide would be awesome. He mocks her final moments, her pleas for her brother's safety. Hearing his sister's love used as a joke is the final straw. Something deep inside Ao, the same part that killed Kusakabe, roars to life. He is on the ground, face in the dirt, but his hand finds a rock. A cold, heavy stone. He looks at it, and then at the thugs laughing above him. "Seize!" He whispers. The fear is gone, replaced by a singular, murderous intent. He lunges upward, the rock raised high. A sickening crack echoes across the riverbank as the rock connects with the blonde thug's head. Blood splatters everywhere. The other thugs freeze, their laughter dying in their throats. They see the eyes of the demon they were mocking, and for the first time, they're the ones who are afraid. Ao is in a trance, his rage a physical force. He hits the thug again and again, each blow a response to the pain they've inflicted on his family. "What do you know?" he screams. "What do you know about our family?" The rock is slick with blood, but he doesn't stop. He can't stop. He stands over the mangled remains of his tormentor, screaming murderer. Back at the night. He has become exactly what they said he was, and in this moment, he doesn't care. The monster they created has finally come to collect its due. The other thugs can only watch in paralyzed horror. The adrenaline fades, leaving only the carnage. Ao stands alone, covered in blood, staring down at the unrecognizable body. The reality of his second crime begins to settle. He is a twice murderer now. He has escaped, but where can he go? He is a boy with blood on his hands and nowhere left to call home. He kneels in the middle of a desolate field, the body of the thug lying nearby. Oh my God, I escaped. Nobody's here. What do I do? He's caught in a loop of his own making, a cycle of violence that seems to be the only thing he's capable of. The night is silent, offering no answers, only the weight of his guilt. Despair finally breaks him. He wails at the sky, his face hidden by a blood-soaked cardboard box. He has hidden the body, but he can't hide from himself. What should I do? He screams. The bridge in the distance is a reminder of the city he can no longer be a part of. He is truly, utterly alone. Ao wanders into a dark alley, the blood on his face drying into a dark crust. I'm sorry, sis. Instead of helping you, I committed a terrible crime. He believes Akane is already dead, and that his revenge was just a final, useless act of violence. He is ready for it to be over. He's ready to pay the price. Suddenly, he hears a voice. Oh, what happened to you? He's at a door, a figure silhouetted in the light. He looks up, his eyes wide and vacant. Huh, is this the police? Or the ghosts of his victims finally coming to take him? He's too tired to even run anymore. It's his mother, but as she steps into the light, Ao's heart stops. She isn't bandaged. She isn't broken. She looks at him with eyes full of worry, but no pain. She is alive, and she is fine. Ao can only stare, his mind unable to grasp the impossibility of what he's seeing. Mother? Why are you here? What happened to your injury? He stammers. She looks at him in confusion. Injured? Isn't it you who's injured, Ao? She sees the blood on his face, the trauma in his eyes. To her, it's just another day. To Ao, it's a miracle that makes no sense. The hospital, the attack, was it all a dream? Ao's world is spinning. He mentions the hospital, the attack, yesterday, but his mother says she was just fine. He realizes the date. It's still December 10th. He checks the charm again. This thing again. When? He remembers the shrine, the prayer, and the mysterious amulet. The pieces are starting to fall into place, but the picture they form is terrifying. Inside the charm, he finds a scrap of paper with a chilling message. Sacrifice the life of someone hated to repeat today. The rule of the massacre loop is laid bare. By killing the thug, Ao unwittingly triggered the reset. The TV announces good morning as a new day begins, the same day he's already lived. Ao realizes the horrific cost of his sister's life, a never-ending cycle of murder. The TV confirms the impossible. It's Wednesday, December 10th, 4:15 a.m. The clock has been wound back once more, returning the world to the very start of the day Ao Minato has already lived through. The morning rush hour begins, indifferent to the supernatural anomaly that has just taken place. Ao is in a state of pure cognitive dissonance. The 10th. That was yesterday, he stammers, his hands trembling as they clutch his head. His phone begins to vibrate. A call from a public phone. It's the exact same incoming call he received before the first reset. The reality of the loop is no longer a suspicion. It's a terrifying fact. He answers, and the haunting voice of Akane Minato fills his ear again. Sorry, Ao. Goodbye. The call ends abruptly, just as it did before. The phone slips from his hand, clattering to the floor. The same tragedy is playing out in the exact same way, and he's the only one who remembers the blood already spilled. He looks again at the scrap of paper from the mysterious charm. The ancient, ink-brush characters carry a weight that feels heavier than the world. The instructions are simple, brutal, and clear. This isn't just a miracle. It's a contract signed in blood. The realization hits him with the force of a physical blow. The reason his mother is uninjured, the reason the day has reset, is because he took the rock and crushed the life out of the thug. Today, repeat, because you took the life of someone you hate. He sees the memory of the body in the box, a gruesome fuel for the time-traveling ritual. To save his sister, he must become a butcher. Ao stands with his mother, the phantom blood from his previous life still staining his face in his mind's eye. He looks at her frail form, now restored and safe from the attack he remembers. He realized that this is the only way. To find Akane, to stop her from disappearing, he will walk this path of massacre as many times as it takes. I am now. He begins, his gaze sharpening with a dark, terrible resolve. The calendar stops at the 10th. A day of death, now turned into a day of eternal repetition. How many lives will it take to reach a happy end? Ao Minato has been given the power of a god, but it requires the actions of a monster. The cycle has only just begun. To be continued. Minato Ao is in shock. He remembers the moment he killed Shun Kanehara, realizing that he is the murderer, and the day has somehow repeated itself. The impossible has happened. As the clock struck midnight on December 11th, time looped back to the beginning of December 10th, carrying both Minato Ao and the corpse of his victim with it. The cause must be there, Minato Ao mutters as he sprints through the night. He's desperate to find the source of this macabre phenomenon. He reaches the spot, but something is wrong. The Torii Gate, the landmark he remembered so clearly, is gone. He finds a shrine, but it's not as he left it. It looks battered and ancient, as if decades of decay have suddenly taken hold in the span of a night. An inscription on a stone tablet reveals a chilling price. To save a loved one from death, a life must be sacrificed. The happy end he seeks is built on a foundation of slaughter. Staring at the cursed words, Minato Ao feels a chill down his spine. Is this a chance for salvation, or a nightmare he can never wake up from? Answer me, he screams into the darkness, pleading with whatever god or demon oversees this shrine. But only silence responds to his desperate cries. Elsewhere, the brutal reality of his actions is discovered. Shun Kanehara's mangled body lies in the grass, a gruesome sight for the investigators on the scene. The police confirm the victim's identity as Shun Kanehara, a student at Arakawa High. The estimated time of death, exactly midnight. The witnesses are baffled. Kanehara was right there one moment, and then, as the date changed, he simply vanished into thin air. Detective Tsumura Tantra, a scruffy man with a weary look, arrives at the crime scene early in the morning to lead the investigation. Looking down at the victim, Tsumura Tantra sighs. Another young life lost, and the circumstances of this murder are beyond anything he's ever seen. His partner shows him the security camera footage from near the scene. There, in the grainy black and white images, is a young boy, Minato Ao. Tsumura Tantra freezes as he stares at the screen. He recognizes that face. This isn't just a random suspect. There's a deeper connection here. At Arakawa High School, the news of the tragedy has thrown the staff into a panic. A mandatory meeting is called as everyone tries to make sense of the student's death. Minato Ao arrives at the school, greeted by a chaotic scene of teachers and staff scurrying about in a panic. His heart sinks. If they found the body, his secret might be out. He tries to act normal, mentioning he's there to talk about his sister, Akane. In the school courtyard, a group of thugs is laughing, seemingly unaffected by the death of their classmate. Leading them is a Ku Tokvang, Chua Aroten that 005, a blonde youth with a smug grin and several piercings, casually combing his hair as if nothing happened. He mocks the dead boy, calling Kanehara a slave and expressing regret that he couldn't see the corpse himself. Minato Ao listens from the shadows, his blood boiling. But he's spotted. Ku Tokvang, Chua Aroten that 005, turns with a menacing glare, demanding to know who is eavesdropping on their conversation. The blonde thug looms over Minato Ao, his presence intimidating and cold. He tells the little brat to get lost before things get ugly. A sudden realization flashes across the thug's face. He leans in closer, his eyes widening with a cruel, predatory gleam as he recognizes the boy standing before him. Shou, get up, Vang. He's sleeping with mock sympathy. What a tragedy. But you should know, it was Kanehara who leaked your secrets to the whole class. Kẻ tóc vàng, chưa rõ tên thật, 005 liên xin with a vin slick, he's what deeping with malit. He taunts Minato Ao with unspeakable acts he committed against Ao's sister, Akane, enjoying the pain he's causing. You really didn't know? The thug scoffs, relishing the look of absolute horror on the boy's face. He continues to mock Akane, calling her an amazing woman in the most degrading and cruel way possible. The details get more graphic as the thug recounts how he drugged her. Minato Ao's eyes are wide with a mixture of disbelief and white-hot rage, his world spinning as he hears the nightmare his sister was forced to live through. Not content with physical abuse, Katak Veng, Chua Ro10 that 005 starts assassinating her character, spreading lies that she was a thief and a drug dealer. He casually suggests she deserves to die, further fueling Ao's silent fury. Seeing Minato Ao's trembling fury, the thug laughs even harder. Look at that face. Was it you? He asks, suspecting that the little brat might be the one who killed Kanehara. Ao's peers can barely hold him back as his anger reaches its breaking point. Minato Ao breaks free and runs, gasping for air as he tries to outrun the echoes of those vile lies. He knows Akane would never do such things, but his desperate escape is cut short when a familiar voice calls out his name from the shadows. It's Tsumura, Tantra, the scruffy detective. He stands there with a weary, knowing gaze, his sudden appearance enough to make Ao's heart hammer against his ribs in fear. For Minato Ao, this man is a haunting ghost from his past. Tsumura, Tantra, was the detective in charge of the murder case involving his stepfather. Now, the detective reveals he's heard that Akane has gone missing. The detective's gaze is sharp and unrelenting as he asks Ao where he was last night. The silence between them is heavy with unspoken suspicion, and Ao can feel the walls closing in. A student from Akane's class was found dead this morning. Tsumura, Tantra, reveals, his eyes boring into Ao's soul. Terrified, the boy turns and bolts, unable to face the mounting pressure of the detective's interrogation. Everyone knows. It's all over. Minato Ao screams internally as he sprints through the neon-lit city streets. His mind is a chaotic whirlwind of fear, guilt, and a desperate, aching longing for his sister. Night falls on the city, but there is no peace for him. He wanders aimlessly through the crowds, a ghost among the living, his heart heavy with the fear that he's already lost everything. He's too terrified to even turn on his phone, dreading a message from Tsumura, Tantra, or news he isn't ready for. All he wants is to hear Akane's voice once more, to be told that she's still alive. His wandering leads him to a giant news screen in the middle of a busy district. A headline flashes across the screen. A high school girl has fallen to her death. It's as if time has frozen. The name appears on the display, shattering the last of his hope. Akane Minato, 18. The world crumbles around him as he realizes he has failed to save her yet again. The image of his sister's body haunts his mind. Minato Ao lets out a gut-wrenching scream, a sound of pure, unadulterated agony that is swallowed by the uncaring noise of the city. He collapses to the ground, his spirit utterly broken. "No, my sister," he wails, his tears falling onto the cold pavement as he faces a future without the person he loves most. In his despair, he prays for a miracle. "Please don't let this happen." As he cries out, he notices the lucky charm from the shrine glowing on the ground, a supernatural sign that the loop is still possible. A terrifying realization begins to dawn on him. If the loop is tied to sacrifice, then there's a way to undo this tragedy. If I kill someone again, I can repeat today again, he realizes, his eyes wide with a dark new purpose. He understands that he can go back to the time before Akane made that fatal decision. It's a path to hell, but for Akane, he's willing to walk it. Minato Ao bows his head, then slowly, a grim and determined smile spreads across his face. He has no other option. To save his sister, he will sacrifice his humanity. He stands in the middle of the crowded street, a small figure against the tide of humanity. To stop Akane from committing suicide, he must commit murder before the day is over. His heart beats with a cold, singular focus. The mission is clear: murder. It's the only way to save Akane from her fate. The clock shows 22:03. Time is a luxury Minato Ao no longer has. With only 2 hours left, he must find a target and trigger the reset, desperate to buy himself one more chance to save his sister. Memories of the past begin to bleed into the present, starting with a bitter confrontation under the bridge. As Sumori Yuta cruelly mocks Ao's parasite family, the boy's mind drifts back to the very beginning of their torment, when Akane first stood in his defense. Flashback to the day it all started. A young Akane Minato takes a brutal blow meant for her brother, her face already bloodied as she protects Minato Ao from the bully's cruelty. "Don't ever come near him again," she screams, her eyes burning with a fierce, protective love. Even as she bleeds, her only concern is thanking Ao for his bravery and for always defending their family. This is the Akane he remembers, the sister who always put others above herself and stayed strong no matter the cost. Her smile, even amidst the violence, is the only light he has left. But that light has been extinguished. Back in the present, the news of her suicide flashes on the screen again. Minato Ao clutches the lucky charm from the shrine, his fists trembling with a dark, newfound purpose. The rules of this cursed world are clear. If he can kill someone before the clock strikes midnight, he can reset the day. He can start over. He can save Akane. "There's no choice but to do it," he mutters, a grim resolve hardening his features. He's no longer the victim. He's the predator. He pushes through the indifferent crowd, searching for a life to trade. His eyes dart around the busy street, landing on two boys laughing and enjoying their night. To the world, they are just teenagers. To Ao, they are a chance at his sister's salvation. He follows them across the intersection, his silhouette a dark smudge against the neon lights. "Where should I go?" he asks himself, his heart pounding a rhythmic, murderous beat in time with his footsteps. 22:49. The digital clock is a ticking time bomb. Desperation claws at his throat as he pleads with a god he doesn't believe in to give him the strength to follow through with his plan. He finds them. Inside a fast food restaurant, Sumori Yuta and his friend are sitting by the window, completely unaware that their executioner has just walked through the front door. Ao takes a seat nearby, his hand gripped tight around the handle of a concealed knife. "Calm down. They don't know me," he tells himself, his eyes cold and focused solely on his target. Memories of his past crimes flash before his eyes. The stepfather, Kanehara. But this is different. This isn't an accident or a fit of rage. This is a calculated trade of lives. One for Akane's. Life is not equal, he realizes, staring at the back of Yuta's head. Some lives are simply worth more than others, and right now, his sister's life is worth everything to him. His mind drifts to a future he might never see, a world where he is known as a teenage serial killer. He can almost hear the news reports trying to explain his horrific crimes. "I killed to protect my sister's smile." The words feel hollow yet undeniably true. In a vision of a simpler time, Akane looks at him, confused by the weight of the dark path her brother has chosen. "My family's life is more important than anyone else's," he recalls her saying. Back in reality, his blood boils as he hears Sumori Yuta mocking the dead Kanehara without an ounce of respect. The conversation takes a sickening turn when Yuta pulls out his phone. "I was just hanging out with him because he said he'd give me that video." He laughs, his voice dripping with sleaze. Minato Ao's eyes go wide with horror as the phone is turned toward him. It's a video of Akane, a gangbang recorded in secret. The violation and betrayal are absolute. The thugs laugh harder, commenting on how high she looked in the video, oblivious to the fact that they are mocking the sister of the boy sitting right behind them in the booth. "You think we can fuck her too?" Sumori Yuta asks with a sickening grin. The lies and the filth they spew are the final straw for Ao. His humanity slips away, replaced by a singular, violent need for justice. That's enough. The words are a whisper, a death knell for the boy in the white jacket. The restaurant begins its nightly closing ritual, and the targets prepare to leave. 2300 hours. The lights dim as the staff announces the closing. Yuta and his friend stand up to leave, completely unaware of the shadow of death trailing just behind them. In one swift, brutal motion, Minato Ao strikes. He plunges the knife into Sumori Yuta's back, his face a mask of cold, calculated fury. Not all lives are equal. That's right. The restaurant erupts into chaos as Ao goes into a frenzied attack. For me, my sister's life is worth thousands of times more than yours, he screams, stabbing again and again until his hands are slick with blood. It's done. Sumori Yuta lies dead in a pool of his own blood, his throat slashed open. As the clock hits midnight, the world begins to blur. Minato Ao is exhausted, but he knows the reset has finally begun. Minato Ao is consumed by guilt, his face twisted in a grimace of self-loathing. He knows that every time he takes a life to trigger the reset, he sinks deeper into a hell of his own making, causing misery to everyone around him. With blood-splattered hands and tears streaming down his face, he breaks down. His only wish, his only reason for this slaughter, is for his sister Akane to live. He stares at the phone, the source of the truth he's about to face. The video on the screen is a direct blow to his heart. It shows Akane in a state of absolute vulnerability and pain, surrounded by those who would hurt her. That's not true. Mochan wouldn't do that. He whimpers as his reality shatters. He stares at the horrifying images, his eyes wide with shock and a growing sense of helplessness. The betrayal he feels on her behalf is overwhelming, a weight that threatens to crush his spirit. The sounds of Akane's pleas from the video echo in the quiet room, each word a needle in his soul. "No," he bellows, the sound of his own voice lost in the agony of the revelation. The thug's laughter on the recording is a sharp, cruel contrast to the horror on the screen. They mock her and call her names, completely unaware of the vengeful demon they've awakened in the boy watching them. Overwhelmed, Minato Ao screams for it to stop, his voice cracking as he drops the phone. He can't unsee the violation, and the rage beginning to boil within him is now cold, focused, and absolute. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the darkness. It's his mother, standing on a street corner in the neon-lit city. She's surprised and deeply worried to see him out so late in such a dangerous area. She notices the blood on his face and panics, asking if he's been hurt. Minato Ao quickly wipes it away with his sleeve, his expression hollow as he tells her it's nothing for her to worry about. "Tell me, Mom, why would Akane be in a place like this?" he asks, his voice trembling with a mix of fear and confusion. He can't reconcile the sister he loves with the one in the video or the dark rumors of this district. His mother looks at him with a mixture of profound sadness and regret. In his empty, dead eyes, she sees a depth of suffering that no child should ever have to bear. She finally reveals a secret she kept from him while he was in juvenile detention. Akane hadn't just been struggling. She had actually run away from home for a time. Rumors had reached her that Akane was hanging out with some very questionable people. Ao is stunned, the image of his perfect sister beginning to fray at the edges as he hears the truth. She would stay out all night and return in the morning reeking of alcohol. His mother's confession only adds more pieces to the tragic puzzle of Akane's final days. Desperate to hear her voice, Minato Ao calls Akane. "Answer me, Mochan." He pleads into the phone, his heart hammering against his ribs as he waits for a sign that he isn't too late. His mother is terrified by his frantic behavior and his talk of suicide. She begs him to come back, fearing that she's losing both of her children to the same darkness. But he can't stop. "Mochan, I believe you. I'll save you. I promise," he shouts as he runs through the night, a small figure fueled by a desperate, tragic hope that he can change fate. December 10th morning, for the third time. The world has reset again, but the echoes of his past crimes remain. Shun Kanehura's body is discovered, and the scene is just as gruesome as he remembers. Isoda, section chief, a sharp and well-dressed detective, stands at the scene. He's baffled by the lack of footprints or CCTV footage. It's as if the body simply appeared there out of nowhere. The investigation leads them to another crime scene, the Mochan's restaurant. There, they find the body of Sumori Yuta, the victim of Ao's latest sacrifice. Sumura, Tantra, arrives, looking more weary and haunted than ever. The murder occurred while the restaurant was closed, and the body was only found the next morning by an employee. The police assume the killer escaped through the back, but the logistics of it make no sense to them. One of the victim's friends gives his testimony to the police. He says he was hanging out with Kanehara and Yuta near Lake Tamago on the night of the incident. He claims he saw both of them literally vanish right before his eyes at the stroke of midnight. Sumura, Tantra, dismisses it as a drug-induced hallucination, but the witness is adamant about what he saw. Detective Isoda, section chief, leans in close to the monitor, signaling Sumura, Tantra, to watch. Pay attention to the midnight mark, he warns, his expression tightening as he prepares to show his colleague something that defies every law of nature. The timestamp on the security footage ticks toward the new day, and then it happens. At the stroke of midnight, Minato Ao suddenly appears on the screen as if carved out of the shadows, his blade striking Sumori Yuta before the detectives can even process what they're seeing. Detective Isoda, section chief, and Sumura, Tantra, watch the grainy security footage in stunned silence. Their eyes widen in disbelief as the killer, Minato Ao, literally appears out of thin air to strike down his victim at the exact stroke of midnight. What the hell happened? Sumura gasps, his mind reeling from the impossible sight. The footage clearly shows the young murderer taking the victim's phone before vanishing just as suddenly as he appeared. Is the camera glitching? The detectives wonder, but the cold reality of the body on the floor tells a much more terrifying and inexplicable story. Sumura, Tantra, leans in closer to the tablet, his heart sinking as he recognizes those eyes, even through the digital distortion of the security feed. It's him, he whispers to himself. The boy he was trying to protect has become a cold-blooded killer. Meanwhile, in the bustling heart of Shinjuku, life goes on for the indifferent crowds, completely unaware of the tragic loop of time and blood unfolding in their midst. Minato Ao walks through the neon-lit streets like a ghost among the living. He is killed again, hoping to trade a life for his sisters, yet he realizes the horrifying truth. While he can reset the day, the blood he's spilled doesn't vanish. It only resets the countdown to his own damnation. Every time I commit a murder, my sins keep piling up, he thinks, the echoes of the thug's vile insults about Akane ringing in his ears. He's desperate to save her, but with so little information to go on, his frantic search through the city feels like a futile, agonizing nightmare. He remembers her smile, the light that kept him alive when he was at his lowest points. I can stop you from killing yourself, he vows, his resolve hardening even as he feels his own humanity slipping away with every passing second. But the digital clock on a nearby building mocks him. It's already 21:38. He realizes with a jolt of terror that he's running out of time. Akane's suicide happened around 10 p.m. yesterday, and he still hasn't found where she is. Slumped against a wall in a dark alleyway, Minato Ao finally breaks down. I'm too late. I can't find her, he cries out, his tears falling on the cold pavement as he begged for his sister's forgiveness for his failure to protect her. The despair is short-lived, replaced by a terrifying, white-hot resolve. He clutches the cursed charm in his hands, his eyes glowing with a dark intent. I'll have to kill someone again. He realizes, if he fails this time, he'll just slaughter his way back to the start and try again. Back at the police station, Sumura, Tantra, frantically tries to call Ao, but the mechanical voice on the other end only tells him the boy is unavailable. The detective's intuition tells him that something catastrophic is unfolding. He's not alone in his grief. Minato Ao's mother is also at the station, her face a mask of exhaustion and fear. She clutches her hands to her mouth, waiting for news of her missing daughter with a heart full of dread. The heavy silence is shattered when a young officer rushes into the room, his face pale and his voice trembling. "Sumira-san, it's awful. They found Akane Minato's body." The news hits them like a physical blow. Akane's mother collapses in grief, her world ending for a second time. Sumira, Tantra, can only stare in horror, realizing the boy he saw on the CCTV has already lost the very person he was killing to protect. Later that night, Sumira, Tantra, receives a chilling call. Minato Ao is at a desolate container yard, his voice sounding hollow and alien as he demands that the detective come alone to see him. Sumira finds the boy standing alone in the dark, a small figure silhouetted against the night. Sumira, Tantra, arrives to a scene of absolute madness. He finds Minato Ao holding another terrified student hostage at knife point. "Thank you for coming, Sumira-san," the boy says with a calm that is far more frightening than any rage. "Tell me more about where and when my sister killed herself," Ao demands. Sumira, Tantra, is stunned by the cold, tactical nature of the request, unable to understand why the boy is asking for details of a tragedy that has already happened. "Hurry up. Just tell me now." Ao screams, the pressure of the loop and the weight of his murders finally pushing him over the edge. He knows his actions are selfish, but he's long past caring about morality or the law. With eyes that glow with an unearthly, murderous light, Minato Ao makes his dark proclamation. "If it's to save my sister's life, then I'll repeat this day as many times as it takes." He's fully prepared to turn the city into a slaughterhouse to see her smile again. Sumira, Tantra, can only watch in speechless horror as the boy he once knew as a victim has transformed into a monster. "Please, wait for me, Mochan. I won't let you take your own life," Ao whispers as he stares at the city lights. Elsewhere, in a luxury hotel room, the news of Akane's suicide plays on the TV. A naked woman tries to get her partner's attention, but the man is captivated by the report, watching with a strange, silent intensity. This is Nuoi Dan Ong Exam Taro 006, a dangerous figure covered in intricate tattoos. He smirks at the news of Akane-chan's suicide while casually combing his hair. His reaction is not one of grief, but of sinister amusement, hinting at a deep and dark connection to the girl's tragedy. Under the shroud of night, in a desolate lot filled with shipping containers, a desperate plan is set in motion. To save her, Minato Ao must do the unthinkable. Again, Inspector Sumira stares back, confusion and fear etched into his weary face. He tells Minato Ao that Akane has already taken her own life. But for Ao, that is merely a problem to be solved through blood. Ao doesn't hesitate. He presses a blade against Sumira's chest, his voice cold and unwavering. He needs the exact location, the place where the tragedy happened. He won't ask a third time. Terrified, Sumira finally breaks. He gasps out the name, the Hakusenkyo building in Shinjuku. With the information secured, Ao whispers a chilling thank you before finishing what he started. The knife sinks in. In this world, life is just a resource to be spent for information. To reset the day, death is the only bridge back to the beginning. Blood splatters as Sumira collapses, his life fading into the dark pavement. Ao watches with empty eyes, already reaching for the reset that will erase this murder from existence. December 10th, 12 a.m. For the fourth time, the clock resets. Minato Ao stands alone in the silence of a new beginning, the weight of his previous actions lingering like a ghost. He has made his choice. To save his sister, he will become the very devil the world fears. He will kill them all, over and over, until the outcome changes. No one will die today, except those who stand in his way. Minato Ao stares into the abyss, his face smeared with the spectral blood of a man who hasn't been killed yet. "I swear it," he whispers, a promise made to a sister who doesn't even know she's in danger. The target is clear, the Hakusenkyo building. An empty shell of a place that holds the secret to Akane's fate. Ao watches from across the street, the morning sun casting long shadows over the city. Hours pass in a blur. 15:45. Ao sits in a convenience store, a silent observer of a world that keeps moving. People whisper about the strange boy who's been sitting there since morning, but their words are just background noise. He looks at an old family photo on his phone, a reminder of what he's fighting for. Did she really choose to leave them because of the bullying? Or was it something far more sinister? He needs to hear the truth from her own lips. Kanyahara and the others. The faces of those who tormented her haunt his thoughts. The stories he's heard these past few days paint a picture of a nightmare he never knew his sister was living. He doesn't know what to believe anymore. Suddenly, biological reality hits. He hasn't moved for hours, and his body is protesting. He needs to use the restroom, but the timing is terrible. What if he misses her? What if she comes while he's gone? The store doesn't have a public restroom. The internal conflict is agonizing. Leaving his post for even a second feels like a betrayal. But the physical urge is becoming impossible to ignore. He sprints to a nearby park restroom, his mind racing. Hurry, hurry, he chants to himself. Every second spent away from that building is a second Akane could be walking toward her death. But his bad luck hasn't run out. In the dimly lit restroom, a group of thugs in hoodies corners him. Before he can react, a heavy blow sends him reeling. The world spins as the shadows close in. The attack is brutal and senseless. A passerby discovers the scene and panics, calling for the police. Ao lies on the cold floor, his consciousness fading as the sirens wail in the distance. He failed. Again. He wakes up in a sterile hospital room, his head wrapped in bandages. His mother is there, eyes red from crying, relieved that he finally opened his eyes. But for Ao, waking up is just another delay in his mission. Standing at the foot of the bed is a man who shouldn't be alive, Inspector Tsumura. In this loop, he's just a concerned officer, unaware that Ao had murdered him in a previous life. He calls out Ao's name, pulling him back to reality. Tsumura delivers devastating news. 2 murders occurred simultaneously near Akane's school, and Akane herself has gone missing. Ao's heart sinks. The chaos is spreading, and the timeline is fracturing. But then a realization. Ao thinks of the murder he committed in the dark lot. The 3rd murder hasn't been found yet, he realizes. Because he reset the day, the body he left behind doesn't exist in this timeline. Even the CCTV footage at the convenience store shows nothing. It's as if his presence has been erased from the world's memory. He is a ghost, a glitch in the system that only he can perceive. Tsumura assures him that the police are hunting the thugs who beat him, unaware that the boy in front of him is the real monster. To them, Ao is just a victim, but his invisibility is cold comfort as the minutes tick away. Suddenly, he sees the time, 20:45. The realization hits him like a physical blow. Akane is out of time, and he's trapped in this bed. Desperate, he lunges for Tsumura's shirt, his voice a frantic, ragged plea. The Hakasenkyo-I building. Take me there now. In the hospital, Minato Ao is a mess of raw panic and bandaged wounds. He grabs Inspector Tsumura, his voice cracking as he screams that his sister is going to die. The detective and his mother can only watch in confusion, unable to comprehend the nightmare Ao is living through. Outside, the search is on, but it's a cold night in the city. Officers scour the area around the Hakasenkyo-I building, yet there's no sign of Minato Akane. The silence of the streets feels heavy with impending tragedy. Back at the hospital, Tsumura takes a call that only deepens the dread. No one matching Akane's description has been found near the building. Ao watches him with wide, haunted eyes, his hope beginning to crumble. 23:31. The clock is a ticking bomb. Ao is sweating, his mind racing through every detail of the previous loops. Why isn't she showing up at the place he predicted? The reality that he might have gotten it wrong is paralyzing. Ao breaks down, sobbing as he tells them he heard about the suicide from Tsumura himself in a past that hasn't happened yet. 2342. He wonders if he actually altered the future, but not in the way he intended. Is she still safe? Or did he just push her toward a different death? Then the phone rings. Sumira's expression shifts to one of grim professionalism. A report just came in. A girl's body has been found under the bridge near the Arakawa floodgate. Ao freezes, the world around him beginning to shatter. Under the bridge, the flashing lights of the police cars illuminate a scene of horror. A high school girl has fallen to her death. It's the moment Ao has been fighting so hard to prevent, yet it has happened regardless of his efforts. The news hits like a physical blow. Ao's mother collapses in grief, while Ao stands in shock. Why did the place change? His interference didn't stop the event, it only moved it. The despair is overwhelming as he realizes his sister is truly gone. A dark thought crosses Ao's mind as he stares out the window. Did Akane notice him waiting at the building? Did she avoid him on purpose? The guilt of potentially driving his sister to a different death site is a weight he can't bear. Ao looks at a family photo, his mind twisting the facts into a new, more terrifying theory. Maybe she didn't kill herself. Maybe she was murdered. The realization sends his mother and Sumira into another state of shock. Ao is losing his grip on sanity. 2350. The deadline is minutes away. Ao grabs a pair of scissors, his eyes filled with a terrifying resolve. He needs to go back. He needs to rewind the day one more time, and he knows exactly what the cost of a reset is. Sumira tries to calm him down, but Ao is beyond words. I have to kill someone, he mutters, the scissors glinting in the hospital light. In his twisted logic, a murder is just a tool to trigger the loop and save Akane from her fate. He looks at the only two people in the room, Sumira and his own mother. He doesn't have time to go out and find a stranger. The monster within him is weighing their lives against his sister's, a desperate calculation born of absolute despair. 23 hours, 55 minutes, and 34 seconds. The seconds are slipping away. Akane's smiling face flashes in his mind, a sharp contrast to the horror of his current situation. If he doesn't act now, her death will be set in stone, and tomorrow will come with a finality he can't accept. With a scream of agony, Ao raises the scissors. He's cornered by time itself. To stop Akane from dying, he believes he must become a killer right here, right now. The pressure has completely fractured his soul. Sumira lunges forward, pinning Ao's arm to the bed. He and the mother are screaming for him to stop, horrified by the boy's sudden violent outburst. Ao fights back with everything he has, desperate to break free and trigger the loop. I can't do it. I can't. Ao's resolve wavers as Sumira holds him down. The struggle is futile. As the clock ticks through the final seconds, he realizes he's losing his last chance. Let go of me, he screams, but it's already too late. Midnight. The day is over. The clock rolls over to December 11th, and the loop doesn't reset. Ao lies pinned on the floor, his eyes wide in absolute horror. The nightmare isn't restarting, it's just beginning. Akane is dead, and the world has moved on. Ao's scream of "Olo" echoes through the hospital, a sound of pure, unadulterated grief. The building stands tall in the night, indifferent to the tragedy unfolding within its walls. The fight is over, and he has lost everything. Ao drifts into a mental void, kneeling in a swirl of distorted memories and tears. A familiar voice calls his name, asking why he's still crying. It's Akane, appearing to him in a vision of a simpler time. The memory of Akane trilling that boys don't cry easily only makes Ao sob harder. He's a child again, helpless and broken, feeling the weight of a world he couldn't change. She hugs him, a ghost of the warmth he's lost forever. I'm sorry. I'll go first, she says, her image starting to fade. Ao reaches out, begging her not to leave him, wanting to go with her. He can't imagine a future without her, a world where the sun still rises after she's gone. He wakes up in his own room, the morning sun streaming through the window. 7:21 a.m. The clock confirms his worst fear. He didn't wake up in the past. He's in the present, a world where Akane is no longer alive. The pain of the new day is more than he can handle. Sumira approaches with a heavy heart, his voice a soft murmur of sympathy that Ao simply cannot stomach. Every word of comfort feels like salt in an open wound, a cruel reminder of the night he couldn't undo. Just go away, Ao mutters, sinking deeper into the suffocating weight of his failure. Despair finally snaps his remaining restraint. Ao screams at the detective to leave him to his misery, his eyes wide and vacant as he yells that it's all over. He is a boy who has lost his anchor, completely unaware that Sumira is holding onto one last piece of information that could shatter his absolute certainty of doom. Inspector Sumira leans in, his voice steady but heavy with the weight of the night's events. He reveals that the girl found under the bridge wasn't Akane. It was another student from her school, a girl named Ayaka who had left a heartbreaking suicide note. For Ao, the world suddenly stops spinning. Ao collapses into his hospital bed, his body trembling as a mixture of hysteria and relief washes over him. He buries his face in his hands, laughter bubbling up through his tears. It's a grotesque reaction to news of someone else's death, and he knows it. This is the worst, he whispers to himself. He can't stop the twisted smile from forming on his face. Thank God, he thinks before the crushing guilt of that sentiment hits him. To feel happy because it was someone else who died, it's a dark realization of how much he's changed. He feels like the worst person alive. Sumira's eyes narrow as he watches the boys break down. He shifts the conversation to something that's been bothering him. How exactly did Ao know that Akane was planning to jump from that specific abandoned building? Ao freezes, his mind racing to find an answer that won't expose the truth. The inspector pulls out a tablet, showing Ao blurred security footage from the night of the 9th. Figures were seen moving around the building that was supposed to be empty. Ao's heart skips a beat. Could that silhouette really be his sister? The possibility that she was there changes everything. The pieces of the puzzle begin to shift in Ao's mind. He remembers the strange timing of the calls and the attacks. He realizes that the suicide attempt might have been a carefully constructed lie. Sumira mentions that just before Ao was attacked, several men were seen fleeing the scene. Ao's fear turns into a cold, hard certainty. Sumira continues his report, mentioning that they've checked the building but found no trace of Akane. There were back entrances with no cameras, leaving a massive blind spot. Ao sits up, his voice filled with a desperate conviction. These guys kidnapped my sister. I'm sure of it. But Sumira isn't done with his questions. He leans closer, his gaze piercing. Ao, you said you heard about all this from me, right? The inconsistency is hanging in the air, a dangerous thread that could unravel everything Ao has worked for. The pressure in the room becomes suffocating. Sumira points out that he didn't even know about the building until Ao mentioned it. He also brings up the strange things Ao said during his panic. Talk of having to kill the inspector or his own mother to save Akane. Ao's world is shrinking as the detective's suspicions grow. Ao snaps, his voice rising in a defensive panic. He claims he was just confused, that the trauma of the night made him say things he didn't mean. He begs Sumira to just leave him alone. The detective falls silent, his hand on his chin, clearly unconvinced by the boy's outbursts. Meanwhile, the night deepens over the city. The scene shifts to a dimly lit dining bar called Gables. Inside, Mitsushima, a blond man with an air of casual cruelty, throws a dart with precision. His associates discuss how Akane managed to slip through their fingers because they were too busy chasing after her idiot little brother. The atmosphere is thick with malice. Mitsushima turns his attention to one of his men, who has target circles drawn all over his bare torso. He smiles, a cold, empty expression, as he prepares to throw another dart at the human target. He claims he's not angry because he cares about his crew, but his actions tell a much darker story. With a sadistic laugh, Mitsushima strikes his subordinate, his words dripping with mockery. He's a man who enjoys the suffering of those beneath him. The terrified associate promises to find Akane, his voice trembling as he pleads with Mitsushima for mercy. They're a shark-like pack, and Akane is their prey. Later, Ao is back on the streets, the weight of the investigation pressing down on him. He's paranoid now, wondering if Tsumura has already started to see through his lies. The city feels hostile, every shadow a potential threat as he searches for any sign of his big sister. This is bad, he mutters to himself. Ao's internal monologue is a storm of doubt and fear. Was it really not a suicide? If she was kidnapped, why was she at the building in the first place? He feels a deep, gnawing anxiety about the future. Is it really okay for him to move on to tomorrow when his sister is still missing and potentially in danger? She's safe, right? He holds the charm in his hand, his eyes filled with exhaustion. He's tired of the blood, tired of the killing, and tired of repeating the same day over and over. But without knowing if Akane is truly safe, he can't find the peace he so desperately craves. His resolve is fraying at the edges. Ao arrives at the gates of Arakawa High School, only to find a notice posted. Due to the seriousness of the recent incidents involving students, the school has suspended classes indefinitely. The silence of the empty school grounds is eerie, another reminder of the chaos that has engulfed his life. Since when? He wonders. A girl with short blonde hair and a casual, knowing look catches sight of him. She's looking at her phone, her eyes widening as she makes the connection. Don't tell me, you're Akane Minato's little brother? She asks, her voice filled with a strange kind of excitement. Ao is caught off guard, his guard immediately going up. The girl, Mochan, points a finger at him with a mischievous pout. She calls him a criminal, saying someone like him shouldn't be wandering around a place like this. Ao's heart hammers in his chest. Does she know what he's done? Or is this just another cruel prank in a world that seems determined to break him? Mochan bursts out laughing, her fingers still pointed at his shocked face. Just kidding, she chirps, finding his reaction hilarious. She explains that she saw his face online, which is how she recognized him. They sit together in a quiet park, the atmosphere momentarily lightened by her erratic energy. Ao can only stare, trying to process this strange new encounter. Her expression turns more serious as she applies her lipstick. She tells him about a guy in their class named Kanehara who found an article about Ao online and spread it to everyone. It's the kind of casual cruelty that school hallways are made of, and Ao's eyes narrow as he remembers the face of the boy she's talking about. Mochan explains that the article was the spark that ignited the relentless bullying toward Akane, leading to her eventual disappearance. She laughs again, a high, piercing sound, as she mentions that the idiot who started it all is now dead. She calls it karma, or divine punishment, her lack of empathy chilling Ao to the bone. Ao looks at her, his voice a low, dangerous whisper. You bully my sister too? Mochan is quick to wave her hands in defense, her eyes wide. She claims she never did anything, that in fact, she was the only one Akane actually confided in. She calls the bullying really stupid, but her tone is hard to read. Introducing herself as Mo Ebisowa, she meets Ao's desperate questioning with a casual, almost flighty air. Ao has no time for small talk. He needs answers. He presses her for any clue about Akane's location, but Mochan simply gazes out at the city, her dismissive, totally barely hiding the strange tension beginning to brew. The mention of abduction seems to strike a chord, making Mochan pause in her erratic chatter. She admits she's clueless about where Akane vanished to, but a flicker of unreadable curiosity crosses her face as the gravity of the situation settles in. The silence that follows is thick with unspoken secrets, the atmosphere in the park growing increasingly unsettling. In the quiet park, the air is thick with unspoken secrets. Mochan acts strangely, hiding her hand behind her back as if concealing a weapon or a hidden truth. Minato, Ao, doesn't let it slide, demanding to know if she's keeping something from him about his sister's disappearance. Her playful facade seems to be cracking. Suddenly, Mochan's temper flares. She screams at Ao to just die already, her face contorted in a brief flash of genuine malice. But as quickly as the outburst came, it vanishes. She hides her face in her hands, offering a shaky apology and blaming the stress of the situation. Ao is left reeling by the sudden shift in her personality. The mood shifts again as Mochan begins to compliment him, calling him a good person and even cute. She mentions she's thought so since seeing his photo online. Ao, haunted by the memory of his own violent actions, can only look away in disgust. "Stop it, please," he mutters, the praise feeling like a mockery of his fractured soul. Ignoring his discomfort, Mochan leans in close, her eyes searching his. She insists they exchange line contacts, her persistence cutting through the heavy atmosphere. Ao is too exhausted to argue further, his mind still stuck on the mystery of his sister's fate. She's a chaotic element in his already collapsing world. She shows him her phone, proudly displaying a profile picture of a gothic, eye-patched anime character. "Super cute, right?" she chirps, her voice jarringly upbeat. To her, this is just another social interaction, while for Ao, every second is a battle for survival and sanity. He takes the ID, his mind already elsewhere. The scene shifts to the stark reality of the police station. Inspector Tsumura is deep in thought, his eyes fixed on a tablet as he reviews the mounting evidence. The sign on the door, Criminal Investigation Division, Violent Crimes Unit, serves as a grim reminder of the stakes involved. The investigation is moving forward, with or without Ao's help. Inside the briefing room, Tsumura meets with his superiors. They discuss the suicide of Ayaka, whose parents are adamant that she showed no signs of distress. Despite her good grades and lack of obvious problems, she left behind note. The detectives are feeling the pressure of the consecutive incidents, their resources stretched to the limit. The case board is a web of tragedy. Photos of the victims and suspects are pinned up. Ayaka, the missing Akane Minato, and several young men found dead or suspected of crimes. The detectives note that Ayaka's suicide note is surprisingly neat, raising questions about its authenticity. Was it a planned end, or something more sinister? Tsumura reviews the security footage one more time. It shows Ayaka walking alone toward the scene at 21:24. On the surface, there's no evidence of anyone else being involved. It looks like a textbook suicide, but Tsumura's instincts are telling him there's more to the story. The silence of the recording is chilling. His colleagues suggest that in the age of social media, third-party involvement isn't always physical. Someone could have lured her there through a screen. The older detective scoffs at the feelings of young people, but the possibility that someone is manipulating these tragedies from the shadows is becoming harder to ignore. December 11th, 23:30. Ao walks through the night, his face hidden in shadow. He realizes that aimlessly searching the streets is a losing game. The clock is ticking toward another midnight, another potential end. He's a hunter with no trail, a savior with no target. The city feels more like a prison than ever. Ao stares at his phone, a message from his boss, Chief Maeda, lighting up the screen. What should I do? He thinks. The weight of the world is on his shoulders. He knows that if he lets the day end without a reset, he loses the chance to undo whatever tragedy is unfolding. But the blood required for a reset is a price he's becoming afraid to pay. The alarm rings. December 12th, 7 a.m. Ao wakes up, the morning light a cruel confirmation that time has moved forward. He didn't kill anyone last night. He didn't reset the loop. For better or worse, he has to face whatever this new day brings. The reality of Akane's absence hits him all over again. He checks on his mother, who is still asleep in bed. His heart is full of a quiet, desperate apology. He's sorry for the things he said, for the way he lost control, and for the secret life he's leading. He's trying to be his son, but the monster he's becoming is making it impossible. He gently closes the door, leaving her in peace. Another message arrives from Maeda, this one far more aggressive. The man is furious that Ao ignored him yesterday and threatens to kill him if he doesn't show up for his shift tonight. It's a different kind of violence, mundane and petty, but it's another fire Ao has to put out. He stares at the screen, paralyzed by indecision. Ao's grip on his phone tightens as he reads the threat. Today was supposed to be his last day off, a chance to find Akane. But the world won't let him go. Every distraction is a potential death sentence for his sister. He's trapped between a life he no longer cares about and a mission that's tearing him apart. A call from Inspector Sumura interrupts his spiral. He's summoned to the police station early that morning. Ao sits in the interrogation room, his heart hammering as Sumura prepares to show him something on a tablet. I know it's not easy, but I need you to take a look at this, the detective says, his tone unervingly soft. The video plays, and Ao's world shatters. It's a recording of Akane being sexually assaulted, her face a mask of terror and shame. He stares at the screen, his breathing shallow. He already knew about this from the previous loop, but seeing it again, presented as evidence by a man who doesn't know the truth, is a new kind of torture. Sumura points to the photo of Shun Kanehara, the boy suspected of sharing the video. He was found dead yesterday, a victim of his own sins, or perhaps someone else's justice. The detective watches Ao closely, looking for a reaction, but Ao's face is a blank mask of repressed trauma. He has to play the part of the grieving brother. Ao's mind flashes back to a man he's met before, Mitsushima, the one from the bar who spoke so disgustingly about his sister. He recognizes the man from the video, but he can't say a word. To admit he knows who that is would be to admit to the loops, to the murders, and to the monster he's become. He keeps his mouth shut, his eyes burning with silent rage. The memory of Mitsushima's face and his vile words echoes in Ao's head. He remembers the man's casual cruelty, his hands on Akane. The rage is a physical weight in his chest, making it hard to breathe. He wants to tear that man apart, but here, in the police station, he is just a helpless high schooler. I'm not supposed to have met him. Ao thinks, his mind spinning. The day he confronted Mitsushima was erased by a reset, a ghost of a past that only he remembers. Sumura asks if he's okay, and Ao can only manage a week, and no, nothing. The gap between what he knows and what he can say is a chasm he's struggling to cross. Sumura's gaze lingers on him, but the detective finally sighs and lets him go. Ao walks out of the station, the sunlight feeling too bright, too artificial. He's convinced now that Mitsushima is the key. That man knows exactly where Akane is, and Ao knows exactly what he has to do to get that information. The mission has a target once again. On the train, Ao stares blankly out the window as the city blurs into a streak of gray and neon. His mind is a vault of secrets, loops, and murders that Inspector Sumura will never uncover. He is a man possessed, his focus entirely on the sister he's already lost once, even as the world around him continues its indifferent rattle toward the evening shadows. 1725. The day is half gone. Ao finally pulls out his phone, only to find a barrage of messages from Mochan. She's clearly annoyed that he's ignoring her, her trivial teenage drama a jarring contrast to the grim reality of the police station. He stares at the screen, momentarily caught in the web of her erratic energy while the pressure of the deadline continues to mount. Minato Ao scrolls through Mokashibu's latest texts, a mindless display of her figure collection. Surrounded by my precious babies, she writes, blissfully unaware of the storm raging in his world. Ao finds her messages trivial, yet a part of him wonders if her eccentric behavior is hiding a deeper knowledge of the events unfolding around them. The train rattles on, a gray blur against a city that feels increasingly hostile. Ao is exhausted, the weight of the previous loops pressing down on him. He has enough real-world tragedy to deal with without Mochan's nonsense adding to the pile. He just needs to find Akane, but the path is becoming bloodier with every step. Ao arrives at his part-time security job, only to be met with the sneers of his fellow guards. Maeda, the man with the ponytail and a permanent smirk, mocks him for showing up with his hands in his pockets, as if nothing happened. They've been stuck dealing with the fallout of his absence, and they're looking for someone to take it out on. The tension explodes as Maeda grabs Ao, his face inches away, spewing insults. He's furious that Ao skipped his shift, and he's not about to let him walk away without a fight. The workplace is just another battlefield for Ao, one where the enemies are human, but no less monstrous. "You messing with us, you little shit?" he growls. Ao tries to end it cleanly, handing over his resignation letter. But Maeda just laughs, calling him a ball-less coward. He demands 1,000,000 yen as compensation for the trouble Ao caused. The absurdity of the situation is the spark that lights the fuse. Ao's expression remains blank, but his mind is starting to fracture under the pressure. Suddenly, Ao's phone vibrates with an incoming call from a public payphone. He pushes past the guards, desperate to answer. This could be the breakthrough he's been waiting for. Maeda and the others scream after him, calling him a coward, but Ao is focused only on the voice on the other end of the line. "Ao!" The voice is faint, trembling with a familiar sorrow. Ao's heart stops. It's a voice he's died for multiple times, a voice he thought he might never hear again. He stands in the middle of the station, the chaos around him fading into a dull hum as he listens to the phantom sound of his sister. It's really her. Akane is alive. She's sobbing, her voice barely a whisper as she tells him she's waiting at their special place. Overwhelmed with relief, Ao begs to know where she is, but the line is crackling. Outside the booth, the silhouette of Maeda looms, a dark reminder that his escape is far from over. Maeda kicks the door open, his voice a roar of frustration. He doesn't care about the phone call or the sister. He only cares about his petty dominance. Ao is trapped, the words "our special place" echoing in his head. He's so close to saving her, yet he's pinned down by the mindless cruelty of a man who doesn't even know the stakes. To make matters worse, another message pings from Mochan. The timing is too convenient, too chaotic. Ao's world is a cacophony of demands and cries for help, and he's the only one caught in the middle. He looks at his phone, the ding of the notification sounding like a death knell. Mochan's message is a desperate plea. "Help me. Someone's trying to kill me." Ao is paralyzed. Is she telling the truth, or is this another game? Meanwhile, Maeda and the guards are literally trying to break down the door with a crowbar. The walls are closing in, and Ao's sanity is fraying at the edges. "I can't answer," he thinks, his eyes wide with panic. Ao realizes now that Mo's messages were likely just a manipulation to get his attention. He's had enough. He screams at everyone to just stop, to leave him alone. But Maeda is already through the door, a cigarette dangling from his lips as he prepares to teach the little shit a lesson he won't forget. The bullying reaches a sickening new low as Maeda drags Ao to the restroom, mocking him for the smell and for his supposed weakness. He shoves Ao's head toward the toilet, a grotesque display of power. Ao's mind is a swirl of static and desperation. "Nei-chan, I think I'm losing my mind," he whispers as the water splashes around him. Maeda slams Ao's head into the porcelain, laughing as he makes the most disgusting comments about Ao's mother. It's the ultimate insult, a line that can't be uncrossed. Ao's plea for someone to save him goes unanswered, and in that silence, something within him finally breaks. The victim is gone, replaced by something much darker. Ao's eyes go cold, his pupils narrowing as he looks at Maeda. The words, "You and your whole damn family," echo in his ears. He's done being the punching bag. He's done being the victim. The rage that has been simmering through multiple loops is finally ready to boil over. Maeda has no idea what he's just unleashed. The explosion of violence is instantaneous. Ao lunges at Maeda, choking him with a strength born of pure hatred. "Shut the fuck up!" he screams, his voice a raw, primal sound. He grabs the crowbar, the tool of his own torment, and prepares to turn it back on the man who thought he was untouchable. D. The crowbar swings with sickening force. Ao isn't just killing a man. He's venting the frustration of 100 failed resets. He's smiling now, a wide, terrifying grin as the blood splatters across his face. Maeda's final gurgles are lost in the sound of metal hitting bone. "You fucker," Ao yells, his humanity completely submerged in his wrath. It's over. Maeda lies in a heap, his head a ruined mess on the sterile tile floor. The silence that follows is deafening. Ao stands over the corpse, the crowbar still gripped in his shaking hands. The world is bathed in red, and the line between the savior and the monster has finally vanished. Ao pants heavily, the adrenaline starting to fade as the reality of his actions sinks in. He looks at his reflection in the blood-splattered mirror, seeing a stranger staring back. He's achieved his goal of triggering a reset, but at what cost? He's no longer the boy who just wanted to save his sister. He's a killer now. The clock hits midnight. Midnight, December 12th. Ao sits in the corridor, the blood cooling on his skin. He realized he should never have restarted the day, especially after he finally spoke to Akane. The guilt of what he's done is a crushing weight. What did I just do? He whispers to the empty hallway. From the shadows of his own mind, a figure emerges. It's Anna Minato, his younger sister, appearing like a ghost. She watches him with empty, glowing eyes, her presence a silent judgment on the path he's chosen. Who are you doing all this for? She asks, her voice a chill in the air. Ao can only stare in horror. Anna's spirit doesn't let him off the hook. She asks if this was really all to save Akane-chan. The question cuts through his justifications, exposing the raw, selfish core of his anger. He thought he was a hero, but in her eyes, he's becoming the very thing he sought to destroy. The loop has claimed another piece of his soul. Once again, you killed someone, but this time, you killed for yourself. Anna's words are a death sentence for his conscience. She tells him he's past the point of no return, that he can't stop even if he wants to. He looks at his hands, dripping with the blood of a man he hated, and realizes she's right. He's addicted to the violence. The voices of the dead and the dying echo in his head. Murderer, demon, bloodthirsty monster. Ao screams and oh, as he flees the scene of his latest crime, leaving Maeda's broken body behind. He's running from himself, but in a world of loops and resets, there's nowhere left to hide. The descent into darkness is complete. To be continued. Section Chief Isoda arrives at the grisly crime scene of Masaya Maeda. Despite the location being outside his usual jurisdiction, he senses a deep connection to a string of murders they've been tracking. Inside the station, Isoda and the investigation team review the security footage. Maeda had supposedly gone home, yet he reappeared at the scene at midnight, expertly avoiding every single camera on his way back. The precision of the act suggests the killer knew the building's blind spots perfectly. Familiar with the place, huh? Isoda muses, the suspicion of an inside job hanging heavy in the air. As he gazes at the bustling streets of Japan, Isoda reflects on the rising tide of violence. 2 murders happening at the exact same time. It's almost too systematic to be a coincidence. His colleague notices his grim expression, but Isoda quickly masks his unease. It's nothing, he replies, but his eyes remain sharp, fixated on the shadows. At the Higashikawa police station, the investigation takes a focused turn. Since the Kanehura case, every trail of blood seems to lead back to one specific individual, a young boy. That boy is Minato Ao, now sitting in the cold light of interrogation. He remembers the cold thrill of killing Maeda, and how he slipped back home to his mother, hidden by the darkness. His mother, unaware of the blood on his hands, believed he had been in his room after their argument. Without knowing, she provided the perfect alibi to the police. Detective Funaki remains skeptical, knowing a family statement isn't enough to fully clear a suspect. He needs hard evidence to break the boy's composure. But the evidence works in Minato Ao's favor. Security cameras confirm he was at a convenience store near his mother's house at 11 p.m., just an hour before the murder. With his alibi solidified, Funaki is forced to concede. He offers a formal apology to Minato Ao, admitting they were wrong to suspect him of Maeda's death. As Funaki tries to show him more evidence, Minato Ao turns away, his face clouded. I don't want to see that, he says coldly, walking out of the room. Outside the station, Minato Ao knows he has escaped for now. But the relief is hollow. He knows that if even a single piece of evidence surfaces, his fragile freedom will vanish. He looks at his hands, the weight of his actions sinking in. There is no noble reason behind Maeda's death, just raw, uncontrollable anger that he allowed to take over. The weight of his lie crushes him. He can't pretend he's a hero saving someone anymore. Crying out for his sister Akane, he feels the darkness of his own soul. His phone rings, or perhaps the memory, a request to meet at a special place. But the vagueness of the message feels like a trap. Is someone listening? It's Friday, December 12th, 1709. The time loop has erased the call history, but Minato Ao knows the cycle is about to repeat. If he does nothing, the nightmare continues. A desperate message arrives from Mo Ebisa. Someone's trying to kill me. Minato Ao tries to turn his back on her, but the ghost of Anna haunts him, calling him what he truly is, a murderer. Driven by guilt and fear, he relents. Fine. I'm going, he yells into the phone, but Mo is no longer answering. The silence on the other end is terrifying. The clock strikes 6 p.m., the exact time the message arrived yesterday. The loop is tightening, and the tension is becoming unbearable. Panic sets in as he realizes he doesn't know where she is. He frantically searches his phone, remembering an old email with a photo she once sent him. He pulls up the photo's metadata, revealing the precise GPS coordinates. Her location, he gasps, finally having a lead to follow. He races through the night to the Ebisawa apartment building. Heart pounding, he finds the name on the directory, room 302. Desperate and out of time, Minato Ao pounds on the door of apartment 302. He screams Mo's name, but his voice is met with a chilling realization. The handle gives way instantly. The door was never locked. He flings the door open and rushes into the darkness, expecting a scene of violence. Instead, he's greeted by an eerie silence, a heavy, suffocating stillness that sets a grim stage for the discovery waiting inside. Minato Ao stands frozen in the doorway of apartment 302. Inside, the room is a graveyard of trash and empty pill packets. Mo Ebisuwa sits on the floor, her eyes glazed over, laughing manically as she looks at him. "Ha, it's you, Aoken." She giggles, her sanity clearly frayed by the substances surrounding her. The sight of the room turns Minato Ao's stomach. It's not a crime scene in the traditional sense, but it is a house of despair. Mo's laughter rings out, hollow and mocking, as she celebrates that he actually came to see her. Minato Ao realizes with a sinking feeling that her desperate call for help was nothing but a cruel, drug-fueled ruse. Fury boils over in Minato Ao's chest as he clutches his head in frustration. "Are you fucking kidding me?" he screams, feeling like a complete idiot for risking everything to come here. Mo just watches him, her expression shifting to one of eerie fascination, mocking his anger as if it were something cute. Minato Ao's eyes dart to the digital clock, 1907 on December 12th. His heart skips a beat as a terrifying realization sets in. Yesterday, in the previous loop, this was exactly when his sister Akane had called him. But today, the phone remains silent, and the temporal anchor he relies on is gone. The silence is deafening, and Minato Ao's mind races through the possibilities. Did his murder of Maeda trigger a butterfly effect that has already claimed Akane? The pressure snaps something inside him. He reaches for a glass bottle, smashes it, and stands over Mo with a jagged shard, his eyes glowing with a terrifying white intensity. "If I kill you, I could relive this day one more time," Minato Ao whispers, his voice devoid of emotion. He's thinking like a monster now, calculating that her death could reset the loop and give him a chance to fix his mistakes. Mo's mocking smile vanishes, replaced by pure, unadulterated fear as she realizes he isn't joking. Mo cowers back, screaming for him to stop, but Minato Ao is already lunging forward. The jagged edge of the bottle gleams in the dim light, a deadly weapon aimed at the girl who had just been laughing at him. The scene is set for a horrific act of desperation. In the heat of the moment, Mo's voice is drowned out by her own terror. She begs him to stay away, but the dark intent in Minato Ao's eyes suggests there is no turning back now. The jagged glass is inches away from its target. Suddenly, a small, frail weight hits Minato Ao's back. He stumbles, the broken bottle slipping from his hand and shattering on the floor. Spinning around, he is met with the sight of a dark figure clinging to him, a presence he never expected to find in this den of despair. Peering out from the shadows is a young boy, his skin pale and his eyes wide with an intensity that matches Minato Ao's own dark aura. This child looks like a ghost, a secret hidden away from the world, staring at the intruder who almost took his sister's life. Mo's fear for herself is instantly replaced by terror for the boy. "Kota, you idiot! Don't get close!" she screams, reaching out to pull him away. But the boy, Kota Ebisawa, doesn't move, his small hands still gripped tight as he whimpers for his sis. In the struggle, Minato Ao realizes he has been wounded. Minato Ao pulls away, clutching his side where blood is beginning to stain his white shirt. Kota is frozen, staring at his own hands which are now covered in Minato Ao's blood. Mo is sobbing now, holding Kota tight and scolding him for exposing himself to such danger. The title card for Massacre Happy End appears as Mo continues to cry over her brother. The murderous tension has evaporated, replaced by a tragic realization of the squalor and desperation these two are living in. Minato Ao is stunned, his anger replaced by profound confusion. He looks at Kota Ebisawa, who is now cowering behind his sister, a small blade still clutched in his trembling hand. "Mo-san, this kid, is he?" he manages to ask, his voice barely a whisper. Mo confirms that Kota is her little brother. She notices Minato Ao's bleeding side and panics, but she's more concerned about her brother's safety. "Don't tell anyone about Kota," she begs, her voice a frantic whisper as she pleads for forgiveness. The secrets of the Ebisawa apartment begin to spill out. Mo admits that their parents have been gone for a long time. They abandoned them to fend for themselves. Minato Ao can only watch as Mo hugs Kota, the reality of their shared misery sinking in. Minato Ao looks around at the floor littered with cheap snacks and trash, the only diet for a hidden child. He asks if Kota goes to school, but Mo's answer is a simple, devastating no. Kota has been living like a ghost, invisible to society. The weight of her secret becomes too much for Mo to bear. She shouts in agony, admitting she has no idea how to handle any of this. She reveals the terrifying truth of their isolation. She is the only person in the entire world who even knows Kota exists. Mo explains that Kota has almost never been outside in his life. Ever since their mother left, he started to withdraw more and more, effectively disappearing into the shadows of their apartment. Minato Ao is horrified by the psychological toll this has taken on the boy. Mo's mind is spiraling into panic. She asks Minato Ao if she could get arrested for hiding Kota, or if the authorities would take him away from her. Minato Ao has no answers, only a profound sense of pity for the girl he almost murdered just moments ago. Mo collapses, declaring that she's done and sick of her miserable life. She wants to forget everything, her voice full of a weary, soul-crushing despair that Minato Ao knows all too well. Every day has become a struggle she no longer wishes to fight. She points to the medication on the floor, explaining that she uses the pills or sells photos of her body on private accounts just to get enough money and attention to survive. "When I'm high, I feel like I'm okay," she confesses, a tragic admission of her only escape from reality. Mo's tears flow freely now as she stares at the broken bottle on the floor. "Ao-kun, you wanted to kill me, right?" she asks, her voice devoid of its earlier mockery. She has reached a point where death no longer seems like a threat, but a release. Mo doesn't run. Instead, she surrenders to the darkness, making a request that chills Minato Ao to the bone. "Then do it. Kill me," she whispers, pulling Kota protectively into her arms. But if you're going to kill both of us, please. She cannot bear the thought of leaving her brother alone to suffer in this cruel world. The weight of her words shatters Minato Ao's resolve, his own mental anguish mirroring her deep-seated despair. In the silence that follows, Kota's small, trembling voice asks, "Sis, the two of us will always be together, right?" That word, together, triggers a sudden, vivid vision of Akane and Anna in his mind, sparking a realization that begins to pull him back from the abyss. A flicker of memory returns to Minato Ao, a sunset from a time that feels like a different life. He remembers standing with his sisters, Akane and Anna, their hands clasped together as they promised never to be apart. Suddenly, a realization hits him like a lightning bolt. "Yes, that's it," he cries out, the missing piece of the puzzle finally clicking into place. Driven by this new revelation, Minato Ao bolts from the apartment, ignoring Mo's confused cries. "Wait, Alco, where are you going?" she yells after him. But his mind is miles away, focused on the secret location Akane had once whispered to him, a sanctuary from their dark past. The memories of their childhood come flooding back, the town they once lived in with their abusive stepfather. It was a place of bruises and tears, where Minato, Ao, and Anna were often the targets of their father's rage, while Akane did her best to shield them from the worst of it. In the middle of that darkness, Akane had been their lighthouse. She would point toward the setting sun and tell them that as long as they kept their faces toward the light, the shadows of their pain would always fall behind them. To her, the sunset wasn't an ending, but a promise of a new dawn. "Let's make a promise," Akane had said, her voice full of a desperate hope. "If things ever get too hard, or if we feel like we're falling apart, let's meet back here. Just the three of us." Those words, once just a childhood pact, now felt like the only lifeline Minato Ao had left to find her. Minato Ao sprints through the neon-lit streets, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He has to reach that special place before it's too late. Behind him, Mo stands paralyzed with worry, watching the boy she barely knows disappear into the night. Mo can only stare after him, her heart heavy with a mixture of confusion and concern. "Alco," she whispers to the empty air. She has seen a darkness in him that mirrors her own, and she fears where his desperate search will lead him. Minato Ao reaches the train station, the cold winter air biting at his skin. He looks toward the park, his eyes searching every shadow for a sign of his sister. "Nei-chan, please, just tell me you're okay," he prays, the silence of the night feeling like an omen of tragedy. He stands by the old park clock, the minutes ticking by with agonizing slowness. He waits through the dead of night, his eyes fixed on the entrance, refusing to believe that she won't come. "I waited for her. I waited until dawn," he reflects, his hopes slowly turning to ice. The sun begins to peek over the horizon, casting a cold, gray light over the empty park. The realization finally sinks in, cold and final. But in the end, Nei-chan never came. The promise was broken, and with it, Minato Ao's last connection to the sister he was trying to save. Saturday, December 13th, 8:30 a.m. Minato Ao walks through the station gates, a hollow shell of his former self. The exhaustion of a night-long vigil is etched into his face, his eyes vacant as he moves through the crowd of morning commuters. To his surprise, Mo is there, waiting by the ticket gates. She looks just as weary as he does, her usual facade of arrogance gone. "Ao-kun, you've been waiting here all this time?" she asks softly, her voice devoid of its usual bite. Mo looks down, unable to meet his eyes. I wanted to apologize," she mumbles, her voice trembling slightly. She knows she has been a source of pain for him, and the weight of her own lies is beginning to crush her. They find a quiet spot by the river, the sound of the rushing water a somber backdrop to their conversation. Mo takes a deep breath and admits the truth she has been hiding. "I'm sorry, Ao. The truth is, I never really talked to Akane, and I wasn't there for her when she needed me most." Mo looks back on their school days, remembering Akane as everything she wasn't: bright, hardworking, and genuinely kind. To Mo, who felt like an outcast with no real friends, Akane was a symbol of a world she could never belong to, and the jealousy had kept her from ever reaching out. It was because of what you did. Mo continues, her voice dropping to a whisper. She reminds Minato Ao of his own past actions that had inadvertently made Akane a prime target for the school's bullies, like the cruel Kanehara. As she watched Akane suffer, she realized the girl was carrying a burden far heavier than her own. Mo had secretly wanted to be Akane's friend, to stand by her side and protect her from the torment. But just as she worked up the courage to approach her, she saw Akane hanging out with Ayaka, the girl whose recent suicide had sent shockwaves through the school. Seeing them together had ignited a fire of resentment in Mo. Suddenly she's pretending to be her friend? Even Ayaka was scared of Kanehara, so she started picking on Akane too. To Mo, it felt like Ayaka had stolen the only person she ever wanted to be close to. The memory of that betrayal still stings. Mo clenches her fists, her voice thick with venom. That fucking skank. That bitch didn't deserve to be Akane's friend. Minato Ao watches her, shocked by the raw intensity of her hatred toward the dead girl. Then, Mo lets slip a chilling detail. That's why I talked to that guy about Ayaka. Minato Ao's eyes widen, a cold dread pooling in his stomach. What guy? He asks urgently, sensing that he stumbled onto something much larger and more dangerous. Mo instantly regrets the slip and tells him to forget she said anything. She bows her head, thanking him for the kindness he showed yesterday by coming to check on her. Seriously? I was just saying nonsense. That really meant a lot to me, she adds, her voice soft and sincere. She looks at him with a sad, knowing smile. It makes sense you lost it, and yet all I ever did was lie to you. Minato Ao stares at her, his mind a whirlwind of secrets. He thinks to himself, lying, I lied too, realizing they are more alike than he ever wanted to admit. Mo stands up, a newfound resolve in her eyes. She promises to try talking to Child Protective Services about her brother Koda, hoping to finally give him a real life. Well then, I'll be off, she says, turning to leave. Minato Ao watches her go, the mystery of that guy still burning in his mind. As she turns to go, Mo suddenly stops and pivots back toward him. Before he can react, she leans in and plants a soft, lingering kiss on Minato Ao's cheek. He stands paralyzed, his eyes wide with shock as the world around them seems to blur into a fleeting, surreal moment of unexpected tenderness. What were you doing? Minato Ao stammers, his face burning with a mix of embarrassment and utter confusion. But Mo doesn't mock him. Instead, she looks at him with a genuine, hopeful light in her eyes. I'm done with the meds, Ao-kun, she says, her voice steady with a new resolve. I'm going to start living for real. Mo looks at Minato Ao with a soft, genuine expression. I don't need that stuff now, she says, referring to the pills. Because now, I think I can be happy again. Her final request to him is a heartfelt plea. Find Akane, okay? Promise me. It's a rare moment of clarity for the troubled girl. As Mo runs off into the distance, Minato Ao stands there, completely clueless. He can't understand her sudden shift in mood. He remembers her telling him that she only felt happy when she was on her medication. Did something happen while I was gone? He wonders, the puzzle pieces of her behavior failing to fit together. As he walks away, his mind drifts back to the message that started all of this. Help me. Someone's trying to kill me. Even if she was just high and looking for attention, he can't help but wonder, what if it was real? In that case, what actually happened to her in the previous timeline? The weight of the unknown begins to gnaw at him. Minato Ao is lost in thought, trying to reconcile the different versions of reality he's experienced. Was Mo-san really in danger? I can't know for sure, since it all vanished with the day the loop erased. Suddenly, a loud voice cuts through his contemplation. Oh-kun. He snaps out of his reverie, alert and on edge. He turns to see a young man with blonde hair and multiple facial piercings approaching him with a smug, knowing grin. Nice to meet you. Minato Ao-kun, the stranger says. Minato Ao's heart stops as he recognizes the man, despite their lack of history in this specific loop. Mitsushima. The air between them instantly turns cold. The title card for Massacre Happy End looms over the encounter as Ryugo Mitsushima stands before Minato Ao. His presence radiates a dangerous, predatory energy that is impossible to ignore. He looks the boy up and down, his eyes glinting with a dark amusement that suggests he knows more than he's letting on. Minato Ao tries to stay calm, his mind racing through his limited knowledge of the man. I need to be careful. I'm not supposed to have met him yet. He feigns ignorance, asking you, who are you? Ryugo just chuckles, seemingly unfazed by the boy's guarded reaction. Sorry for surprising you. I am Ryugo Mitsushima. And you're Minato Ao, right? Ryugo's tone becomes deceptively soft as he leans in close. I know who you are. I was in the same class as your big sister. Minato Ao's breath catches in his throat. This man, this personification of the world's darkness, claims to have had a connection with the gentle Akane. It's a chilling revelation. The shock is too much for Minato Ao to hide. What? You mean, you were in love with my sister? He shouts, his eyes wide with disbelief. The idea that someone like Mitsushima could have any feelings for Akane is both terrifying and nauseating, a perversion of everything she stood for. They relocate to a diner, the bright lights and bustle of other patrons providing a strange contrast to their grim conversation. Ryugo leans back, recalling the moment his obsession began. I started getting interested in her. That's when I caught her selling her body on the street. The bluntness of the statement is like a slap to Minato Ao's face. In a dark flashback, Ryugo remembers finding Akane in a seedy red light district. She looked broken, her school uniform a jarring sight in such a place. Me? Mitsushima-kun, she gasped, her eyes full of shame. Ryugo grabbed her arm, demanding to know what she was doing. Leave me alone, she cried. But he only saw a girl who was drowning and needed a way out. Ryugo claims he tried to help her, offering her money to stop what she was doing. But Akane wouldn't listen, her pride stronger than her desperation. Cut the bullshit already. If you need money, I can help, he yelled. But she pushed him away with a look of pure loathing and ran into the night, leaving him alone in the neon-lit alley. Ryugo's expression turns uncharacteristically somber. It wasn't like me at all, but I started worrying about her. He explains that while he was trying to find a way to help, the sadistic Kanehara began his own campaign of harassment against her, making her life a living hell. Minato Ao listens, his hatred for Kanehara flaring up once more. The flashback shifts to a more sinister scene. Akane suffering under Kanehara's cruel games. Ryugo admits that even he, with all his influence, couldn't do anything to stop the harassment once it started. And then, without a single word of goodbye or a trace left behind, Akane simply vanished from school. So since then, I've been looking for her, Ryugo says, his hands clasped as if in prayer. Because I want to save her. He looks at Minato Ao with an expression that almost looks like genuine grief, a mask of vulnerability that is difficult to read. Sasei, Minato Ao whispers, the words sounding foreign in this context. But the mask of the gentleman slips in an instant as Ryugo leans in and whispers a vile, crude comment about Akane. The shock hits Minato Ao like a physical blow, and he screams in rage, "That's not true. I know you're lying." He refuses to believe the filth coming out of Ryugo's mouth. Ryugo ignores the outburst and reaches across the table, his hand clamping down on Minato Ao's. "Help me find Akane, please," he begs, his eyes wide, and pleading in a performance that is either masterfully deceptive or tragically real. But to Minato Ao, the touch is repulsive. The revulsion boils over into a visceral scream. "Don't touch me!" Minato Ao bellows, his voice echoing through the diner and drawing the eyes of every patron. He jerks his hand away as if burned, his eyes wild with a mixture of fear and loathing for the man across from him. Without another word, Minato Ao turns and flees the diner, his heart pounding against his ribs. Behind him, Ryugo Mitsushima sits in silence, his eyes fixed on the door as he watches the boy disappear into the night, his predatory calm returning in an instant. Back in the diner, Ryugo's hand begins to tremble. This has got to be a joke, he mutters to himself, staring at his shaking fingers in genuine disbelief. I'm actually shaking right now. He begins to laugh, a low, guttural sound that slowly builds into a full-blown manic cackle. He's found a new source of excitement. Ryugo pulls a comb from his pocket and begins to slick back his blonde hair, a twisted smirk playing on his lips. Not bad at all. Minato Ao, he says to himself, the boy's defiance seemingly fueling his dark fascination. The game has just become much more interesting for the sadistic heir. Minato Ao runs until his lungs burn, finally slowing to a walk in a quiet alley. His head is spinning from the encounter. Mochan, who am I supposed to believe? I don't get any of this. Could Mitsushima really have nothing to do with the guys who assaulted her? The confusion is as painful as the betrayal. He stops to catch his breath. The image of Ryugo's face burned into his mind. But we talk about Mochan. His eyes didn't look like they were lying. The terrifying possibility that the monster might be telling the truth is a thought he can't escape. What if Mitsushima is the only other person truly looking for her? Minato Ao finally makes it back to his mother's apartment, but his heart sinks when he sees a familiar figure waiting in the shadows of the hallway. It's Detective Tsumura, looking more exhausted than usual. Oh, hey Ao, he greets him. Minato Ao tenses up, his guard immediately rising as he questions the detective's presence. Tsumura-san, what are you doing here? Detective Tsumura's gaze is weary, yet it holds a trace of genuine concern. Your mom didn't look too good when I checked on her earlier. I was worried, he admits, leaning heavily against the wall. He looks Minato Ao in the eye, his voice softening. You two had another big fight last night, didn't you? The question pierces through Minato Ao's defenses, making him wonder if he can finally trust this man with the names that are haunting him. Minato Ao hesitates, then decides to test the waters. Tsumura-san, does the name Mitsushima mean anything to you? He asks. Detective Tsumura's expression remains neutral, but he places a comforting hand on the boy's shoulder. He's a classmate of Akane's. Just be nice to your mother, Ao, he says gently. Minato Ao can only look down and whisper soft, okay. Tsumura lets out a weary sigh, admitting that his focus has been elsewhere lately. Sorry, I've been assigned somewhere else, so I'm not really up to date on what's going on here. He looks at the boy, his curiosity piqued. What about this Mitsushima guy? Why are you asking? The distance between them feels wider than ever. Minato Ao tries to brush it off, his eyes darting away. And nothing. He just seems sketchy, like he knows a lot about everything. He explains. Tsumura's eyes narrow as he watches the boy's reaction, sensing that there's a lot more to the story than Minato Ao is letting on. But he doesn't push further. You mean the murder cases? The ones involving Kanehara and the others? Tsumura asks, his tone turning serious as they stand on the apartment walkway. Minato Ao is quick to deny it. And no, not that. He stammers, his mind a whirlwind of secrets he can't share even with the one person who might help him. The scene shifts to the dark, sterile environment of the police station. A file lies open on a desk, the face of Ryugo Mitsushima staring back from a student ID photo. In the shadows, a man's mouth curls into a chilling, predatory smile. The hunter is watching his prey from the safety of the system. Section Chief Isoda is approached by a fellow officer who points out the photo. Hey, isn't that Mitsushima? ISO-san, you know this guy. The officer's tone is casual, unaware of the deep, dark connection Isoda shares with the subject of his investigation. Isoda's facade as a veteran lawman is impeccable. Isoda leans back, his expression unreadable. Oh yeah, that one's a real piece of work. The cops know him well, he says. He details Ryugo's long history of violence and theft, yet adds a bitter truth. Every time, he walks free without a scratch, because his old man is a big-shot lawyer. The corruption is baked into the very foundation of their world. Isoda flips through a thick stack of reports, each one a testament to Ryugo's protected status. Every time that kid screws up, the dad gets involved. Sticking his nose in our business, he mutters, the resentment in his voice sounding perfectly natural for a frustrated police officer. It's a role he plays with terrifying ease. His colleague adds that despite his record, Ryugo is actually brilliant and is now aiming for law school. I swear this world's gone to shit. The officer grumbles. Isoda just listens, his phone suddenly vibrating with a familiar tone. Oh, gimme a sec, he says, excusing himself from the conversation with a polite nod. Isoda steps away to take the call, his facade of the diligent detective slipping for a brief moment. On the other end is Ryugo Mitsushima himself, calling him by the familiar nickname Isogashii. The young master's voice is full of a casual arrogance that suggests he owns every fiber of the man on the phone. Sweat beads on Isoda's forehead as he listens to his orders. Ugh, you're calling me right in the middle of shift. He complains, but his words lack any real bite. Yeah, but don't worry, young master. I'll take care of it tonight. Leave that matter to me. The corrupt nature of their relationship is finally and chillingly laid bare. The scene shifts to the dark, neon-lit streets of the city's red light district. A man is desperately begging for more time to pay back a debt over the phone, his voice full of a pathetic, groveling fear as he stands before a JK Time sign. Fucking hell! He curses as the line goes dead, his world clearly falling apart around him. In a nearby club, the depravity of the city's underbelly is on full display. A young girl is forced into a degrading act with an older man, while the man from the phone call watches with a mixture of boredom and contempt. Kids these days, I swear. All that just to blow my cash on a hooker, he mutters, the utter lack of empathy in the room chilling to the bone. The man's eyes are empty, his soul as dark as the alleys he frequents. Damn it, I always get horny right in the middle of work. He grumbles, pulling out a small device. It's a reflection of a system that has completely lost its way, where the protectors of the city have become its predators. It's December 14th, 12:45 a.m. Section Chief Isoda is sitting in his car, the interior filled with the thick vapor from his electronic cigarette. He's parked outside the Ebisawa apartment building, his eyes fixed on the windows as he waits for the perfect moment to strike, his cold patience a weapon in itself. He adjusts his earpiece, listening to a voice on the other end. Someone is complaining about their inability to sleep, and Isoda's reply is cold and detached. Oh, get a rest, will you? Ugh, I don't even want to take these damn pills anymore. He mutters, his patience wearing thin as he prepares for the final act of his night. A twisted, satisfied smile spreads across Isoda's face as he prepares to exit the car. All right then, he says to himself, his decision made with the clinical detachment of a butcher. He steps out into the cold night air, the predatory calm of a seasoned killer returning to his eyes. As he walks toward the building, Isoda reflects on the events of the previous day. I was called in urgently for a new crime scene yesterday, so I didn't get the chance to deal with what I'd planned. The discovery of Maeda's body had been a temporary setback, but now he is back on track to complete his dark mission for the Mitsushima family. Isoda's footsteps are silent as he climbs the stairs, his eyes checking every shadow for any sign of witnesses. He reaches the third floor and pauses, listening to the absolute silence of the building. Well, looks like they're sound asleep, he whispers, a look of grim satisfaction on his face. With chilling, methodical precision, Isoda pulls a thin latex glove over his hand, snapping it tight against his skin. His eyes are cold, dead pools of darkness as he mutters the final, terrifying words, "It's time to die." The transformation from veteran detective to cold-blooded executioner is finally complete. He pulls out a key and slowly, carefully inserts it into the lock. The slight click of the mechanism sounds like a thunderclap in the quiet hallway. He pushes the door open, the shadows of the apartment swallowing him whole as he enters with a silent, deadly grace. Mo's sanctuary has been breached. Isoda stands over the sleeping form of Mo Ebisawa, his eyes scanning the filth of her apartment with a look of pure disgust. "Damn kids," he mutters, his gaze fixed on a girl who has no idea that death is standing right beside her. The chapter ends on a heart-stopping cliffhanger, with Mo's life hanging by a single, fragile thread in the hands of a monster.